Hello, you beautiful people. I'm Claudine. I'm back, and I'm making strawberry sando keychains out of polymer clay. I was obsessed with how aesthetically pleasing all the strawberry desserts were during my trip to Japan earlier this year, and I wanted to recreate them in clay form, and I couldn't wait to get my hands on them. But it took me a while because my trip was in January, and I I used heavy acrylic medium to recreate strawberry paintings if you want to see them in my previous videos, because I actually use them almost as like a sculptural medium, and actually piped on this heavy acrylic medium onto canvas and made it look like actual frosting on the flat cakes that I painted. But if you're new here, if you didn't know, I used to be a health and wellness channel, and I pivoted into art because I feel like that's the best for my health and wellness, ironically, and I wanted to start documenting building my art journey and my art career, hopefully, on this platform. And everyone is just so much more positive, I feel, in the art community and people who appreciate art versus within the health and wellness space, which is so ironic. And I started this polymer clay journey around last month, and I've sculpted again, like I said earlier, with heavy acrylics before. So you're seeing me at the very beginning of this polymer clay journey, and I'm going to show you all my mistakes in this video and how I solved them. Listen, sometimes I think sculpting is so fun, but most of the time it is so humbling to the point where I just want to give up. But there's something slightly masochistic within me that I just want to keep going and push past that point of self-loathing because I'm too impatient to leave a busted looking strawberry sando behind. So here I am. And I started off with Sculpey Primo clay, and I did the Sculpey original clay in the previous video, and it's this white one, and I'm starting off making a strawberry cane, and I've been obsessed, you guys. I have been searching for strawberry clay cane making tutorials, and it's not kind of like, it's the exact same process apparently of how these candy makers make their candy and how they can create the same exact looking slice out of all the candy. You basically create this long tube, which is the cane, of a specific pattern. Look at this busted looking strawberry. And I think my first mistake here was I was not patient enough. Look at me. Look at those impatient little hands trying to stretch out the strawberry clay cane. And look how it looks with a cross section. It's so fascinating. It's so cool because if you think about it, someone looked at, I don't know, sugar before, and they were like, you know what? We can melt this. We can turn this into candy. And you know what? You know what else? We can make designs out of this. And you know what else? We can make this really long and make crazy cross sections out of it and cut it, and every piece will be the same. That's what trips me out. The human mind, and when it comes to creativity, there's just some interesting people out there who just want to solve things out of art media. So I think my first mistake here, well, I know my first mistake here is sticking to this the Sculpey original formula versus, so the white one is the original formula, and the colored clays that I have are the Sculpey Primo, which are harder, but the Sculpey original formula is just too soft, and I think they just get so smushed under the pressure of the caning process. So I have to switch into something different, which I will later on in this video. And I learned this trick from Uncomfy Tammy Din. I love her artwork. I love how comforting her videos are, and I learned that she uses these soft clay pastels, or soft chalk pastels, to create more color onto her sculptures. And I wanted to make a toasty looking crust on these bread slices. So I started off with this pale yellow on the faces, the main faces of the toast, and I mixed this toasty brown color mixed with orange, which I learned from Uncomfy. This is what I love about artists on this channel. They're so willing to give away their secrets, and they're so free to share, and that's what I want to do too, because it's so fun to create for yourself, and eventually, you never know, you can create a business for yourself, even if it's small. It doesn't have to be crazy big. So now I'm making the cream part within the sando. And sandos are basically, if you've never had a sando, it's essentially this thick, fluffy milk bread from Japan. And it almost acts like cake slices because of how thick, fluffy, and sweet they are, because they're milk based. And right in the middle, they just plop on heavy whipped cream with strawberries in it, sliced into it. And it's supposed to look flat. Look how busted this sando looks. And I'm trying to flatten it out, mush it up against itself, because when you look at an actual sando, its strawberries are almost like lodged in there, because you plop the strawberries, or you lodge the strawberries into the whipped cream before you even slice into the bread. And I've seen these photos of ube strawberry sandos, and I thought to myself, of course, I have to make this. You know, I gotta claim my Filipino heritage by trying to put ube in every one of my artworks. And this part, I was trying to make it flat by literally lodging these strawberries in and filling the rest in with this purple clay, and it just doesn't look right. It doesn't look right, and it just looks so flat. And I try to add these little pieces of green leaves onto them, and it didn't look right. Tell her, this ugly. Poor thing. It's okay. This is why I love art. Love hate art, making art, because you will run into mistakes. Yeah, I said this was a fail. So I'm milling along and I'm trying out this different technique. How about I slice or trace out slice the cream with the bread piece, so I don't have to like form it into my hands. And look, it worked. And then I thought to myself, what if I make a really thin slice of strawberry from the strawberry cane so it looks flat? And wow, look at how crazy that concept is. Isn't that concept crazy? If you cut something really flat, it'll be flat. I don't know why I didn't think about that before, but we live and we learn. And I wedge it in between this. I I like how the strawberries turned out with this. Look at all my mistakes. I like how the strawberries turned out with this, but it was too thin with the cream. And here I am making another strawberry cane. And I gave myself a little bit more time with this, a little more patience. And I think I still used that damn original Sculpey formula for the white. But look, it looks like taffy. And I cut it in half. That's what I didn't do before. So when I was making the clay cane before, I didn't take the time to stretch it out and cut it into half pieces every time they would get stretched out, just to relieve the stress. And look at that! I think it looks better. I think the white stripes within the strawberry kind of looked a little creepy to me. I don't know, it kind of reminded me of centipede legs or millipede legs. But the strawberry cane slices are looking really good. This is one of my favorite parts about cleaning up, is using alcohol, and it just gets rid of the polymer clay shavings. And this is the Craft Smart clay, the white clay. It's a lot stiffer than the original Sculpey formula. And moving forward, this is what helped so much, because in the previous iterations of my sando, I don't know if you saw, but those toast slices ended up looking busted because they just got too soft under the heat of my hands. And this one held up a little better. So this time I'm gonna make a lot more slices. I feel like I'm making a whole bakery. This is what's so fun about polymer clay. It feels like you're doing the actual thing. You're making the actual thing without the consequences of too much sugar in your system. Because I don't know about you, but I've talked about my SIBO journey, SIBO, earlier, or not earlier, earlier in the winter last year, and I got a diagnosis for it. Like, that's why I've had this painful gut pain in my life every time I ate something that didn't comply. So SIBO is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and this bacteria loves sugar. Look at me being a chismosa. I'm looking outside. I think my my neighbors were fighting. But small intestinal bacterial overgrowth is when you have too much bacteria, good and bad, in your belly, and they love to feed on sugar. And every time I would eat too many carbs, which I didn't know that was the issue, that's when my stomach would flare up. Any sugars and carbs, sugar is a carb. But look at these toasts, they're so cute. Yeah, so I don't have to suffer the repercussions of eating too much sugar when I make these little clay pieces. But I am healed now. I took the time. I went to a health professional who specialized in SIBO, and I went on a round of meds. I went in the natural route because I don't me and antibiotics and a lot of pharmaceuticals. My body doesn't do well with it. My gut gets destroyed. But I didn't mean for this to turn to a health talk. But you know what? This channel is all about health and wellness with your mind. Okay, it doesn't have to be just fitness. Mental health is a huge thing that I love to talk about mental health. And I believe that when you start taking care of your gut, it really helps with your mental health. Because when I wasn't taking care of my gut before, my brain was all mush, just like these previous iterations of strawberry sandos. Okay, this is a way better iteration because I use this craft smart clay. Everything is moving forward. And just when you think everything is going great, you have not run into another mistake like I'm about to run into. Because I'm feeling confident. I'm like, ooh, I learned to cut these strawberry cane pieces so flat, and I'm using this craft smart clay, and now the bread and the cream isn't getting smushed. Let me apply these little strawberry pieces, and look what I'm doing. I'm mushing them in too flat, and look at how ugly these strawberries turned out. Do not do that. I don't know what came over me where I was like, let me flatten out these strawberries some more. They looked flat already, okay? And look at them. They look like weird triangular strawberries. So now I've made 6 busted looking sandos. But it's okay. It's kind of like, who invented the light bulb? Well, there's a lot of controversy behind that. If you've watched The Prestige, Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla. But anyway, the light bulb. It took him what? Who said that? Someone said that 1,000 failed inventions. I'm butchering this. Was it? Who was it? Was this Ben Franklin who said that? Just kidding. Never mind. One of those old men. They said that 1,000 of their failed inventions just means that they're 1,000 times closer to the wow, I really butchered this to the actual invention. Don't quote me on this, look it up. But because I've made those mistakes with the previous sandos, this ube strawberry sando it turned out so pretty because I learned not to squish the strawberries too flat. I learned to cut them thin off the cane. I learned to use this white Craft Smart clay instead of the original Sculpey original Sculpey um, brand. Look at how pretty! I did a strawberry whipped cream for this one. I kind of wish I made the strawberry whipped cream a little whiter. It looks a little too pink, almost like bubblegum. Look at these busted looking ones on the left. But they walked so these other sandos could run, and I completed the entire sando set. And now I'm removing the busted looking ones because at first I was like, let me bake them. And I was like, no, let me not do that. Let me not waste clay. So I'm going to start to repurpose them. And this was a painstaking process. I almost wish that I just mushed them all together in one big ball and formed a weird brownish looking clay. Look at that frustration. Take it out, girl. Look at your mistakes. It's okay, you're learning. I try to repurpose them. They're all the way on the right. You can see that they're a little wrinkly looking around the edges, but they're still pretty. They're still my kids. They tried. Look at the back. Look at the cream. They're so cute. Now it's time to bake. So I baked them. Bake them for 270 at around 270 degrees Fahrenheit, because you bake them at 270 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 minutes per quarter inch. And then for the first quarter inch of clay that you have. And then the next quarter inch, you add on 5 minutes. And I just estimated they looked around an inch. So I just put them in there for 30 minutes. And now I'm using these eye pins to stab it. And just when I thought I've made every mistake in the book, why did I stab the bread sideways like that? Look, it curled in and it stabbed towards the front of the strawberry sando. The poor thing. It's okay. It was already busted looking in the beginning, so I'm just gonna bust it up even more. But she really tried. She really tried. And that was another mistake I learned in this polymer clay journey. These eye pins are too long, and that is because of my impatience. You know, a big lesson I learned in this life constantly is because I'm impatient. No, I don't want to say I'm impatient. I don't want to subscribe to that personality trait. I'm working on it. Because of my impatient traits in the past, it has led to messes. And all I have to do is take a little bit of time, a little extra prep, and take my time, go slow with it, just like with this sando. So I twist after I hook it in. And look at how much better it turns out. Took the time to snip off that little piece so that it doesn't stab all the way through. Okay, actually that was the baking process. Sorry. So I stab it first and then I bake. And now I'm doing UV resin. UV resin and if you didn't know, in the previous video, I was not having it in my spam musubi clip video, because you know why? I was impatient. I was putting on gloops of this onto my pieces and it just turned out not right. It was too, it would pool up and it would not cure properly. And now that I'm taking the time with each piece, I'm brushing it on and I'm putting it in thin layers, kind of like how you do it with nail polish, with gel polish. Just go slow with it. Go in thin layers. I only do one layer though with this brand. It's J Diction from Amazon. I'm going to put in all my supplies down below. But it turned out way better. I might need to do 2 coats of resin in the future, but maybe if I try that Mr. Resin brand, it wouldn't be like this. And now I'm putting on the key rings, turning them into keychains, and eventually I think I will give them to my clients. I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but I have a personal training business and a lot of my clients love stuff like this, and I just love giving it to them as a, as a token of my appreciation, because they invest so much time and money into working with me, which I appreciate them for. And I don't know, these little pieces just remind me not to take life so seriously, because this is if you could have fun making little strawberry sandos, then life is all good. But next time I think I'll make these a little more flush with the cream, but I kind of like that puffy cream look. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for sticking around my yap session once again, and I'll see you next time.